Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the LFC Transfer Room. My name is Louis, and today we are joined, becoming a bit of a regular occurrence, joined by Matty, joined by Jay, and joined by Damon. Matty, how are you doing this evening?
All right, surprisingly, bit wounded that Everton managed to stay up, to be honest. But it's kept me entertained for the past 24 hours, to be honest, because I've seen tweets saying they're back and that. So good luck to them.
Yeah, and Jay, what about you? How was your reaction to all that?
Great, mate. Twitter circus, right on form, on point as usual. Everton have managed to beat the corrupt Premier League that have been hell-bent on sending them down all season, so congratulations for beating corruption.
And Damon, yourself, how are you?
Oh, good, mate. All good. Just waiting for Sunday now. It's just I don't know what to expect, to be honest. I really don't.
Well, first of all, this is the Premier League room, so welcome to everybody who's just joining. If you are new, this is our chance to talk not just about Liverpool, but about the whole Premier League in general. So this is the final episode of the Premier League room for this season, brought in the new year, and now it's on its way out again until August, September time, with the earlier season starts. So let's make it a good one to bow out on. Good evening to everybody just coming in. Speaking of Everton, let's have a chat about the news that's just broken in the last few hours this afternoon regarding Everton's long-touted problems with FFP rules, with Burnley and Leeds threatening legal action over alleged overspending or too much loss, essentially, in Everton's financial year. I believe it's, forgive me for the figures, a club is allowed to lose about 100 or so million in a year or over a 3-year period or something like that. However, during COVID, there was a break on that. So Everton believe that they're fine. They're not in the wrong because they've written off 170 million, but they're putting that down to COVID. But some teams think that that's probably a little bit naughty from them and there might be something more to it. So Matty, tell me what your thoughts were when you first read that.
It can only be them, can't it? It can only be Everton, to be fair to them. It doesn't surprise me. When they bought James Rodriguez, they got him in on mad wages, and then in that summer they got Allen in as well. Calvert-Lewin's on big money, to be fair, and for the size of the club and where they're competing at, and they are probably lower table club for the past 5 or 6 seasons. And where they're competing, they're spending above the means, and they're buying players like Richarlison for 50 million who thinks he's like Ronaldo and he's just not. And that's where the problems are with Everton. So I do think they probably are in the wrong. I've heard Everton have had a few FFP things go against them in recent months and years. To be honest, I think they've been investigated a few times. So it'll be interesting. I'd like to see the point deduction this year, if I'm being completely honest, because I don't think it really affect them next year, but we'll see.
So just to add a little bit onto that, Burnley and Leeds want Everton's finances thoroughly investigated and have asked for an independent commission to be set up to decide whether Everton have broken Premier League rules and whether they have a case to answer to. The commission has to be, they've asked for it to be set up within 6 weeks of the date of their letter, which is in the middle of May. So yeah, this won't be sorted until well into, even pre-season of the oncoming year. If there has been a breach, they want rules to be enforced, and a maximum punishment is a points deduction, and people are throwing around figures like a 9-point deduction, 10-point deduction.
Derby's was financial win. What was their point deduction?
Like 15, wasn't
mental.
it?
Yeah, they had quite a harsh.
It was high. Yeah, it's definitely high. I think it was between 15 and 18.
I'd like to see something like that if it's next season, then.
Yeah. So obviously, with that win, they have secured their survival for the season, Jay. But next year could be off to a bad start before this one's even ended.
Well, yeah, because if this FFP does come in, they're not going to be able to sign anyone. So Lampard's pretty much going to be stuck with what he's got, and what he's got put them in the position they're in now. So if you take 9, 12, 15 points off that, Everton would have been comfortably down. So it's very dangerous for them, to be honest, mate, if they get sanctioned. I mean, the worst part about it is if you're going to get some for financial fair play, at least have a squad where you can go, do you know what, it was worth it. there isn't a single player there where you'd think, do you know what, it was worth taking the hit on that. Because you'd expect City or PSG to be in this position, but if they were, you'd be like, yeah, but look at the squad. You look at Everton, they're talking about selling Dele Alli before he's even started the game. It's dangerous times for them if it does happen.
I mean, we would all love to see it happen, Damon, as Liverpool fans, and just seeing that happen to a Premier League club would be quite funny because it's a, not to mention a rare occurrence. I don't think it's really happened, has it? But that is my only concern: the fact they haven't been relegated. The Premier League, the FA, they seem a bit cautious to take any sort of real punishment on a Premier League club. They're very happy to, essentially liquidate teams in lower divisions, hand out big points deductions to the likes of Derby and a few others. But, are Everton almost in a position where they could be saved from it because they, are judged to be too big, sort of in a way?
Well, if they do that, then they're just going to do it again. Teams are just going to do it again. It's just getting away with it, isn't it? Really, City got away with theirs. I mean, they got the best lives in the world and they got away with it. So it doesn't really teach anything and what's right about football because it's financial fair play is there for fair play. It's the names in it, and if they can't financially assess their team fairly, then why should they be allowed to compete in the Premier League? Because it'd have been hilarious if they went down and then got a points deduction next year. That'd have been even funnier. I just know, and the rumours at the beginning of the season were true. That Liverpool were the ones that had to get Everton's manager in, so they got Benitez because they couldn't afford to get anyone in, so they asked Liverpool to help.
Am I right in believing that FFP is going to be scrapped soon and they're looking to bring something else in? Does anyone know what that is, or is that up in the air?
I don't think even UEFA knows, do they, mate? FFP's been a farce, to be honest, hasn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, Damon, we saw it with Man City. They got their lawyers involved, and that was it. And I feel like most clubs, especially in the Premier League, when they're challenged with it, they all seem to come out saying the same thing, that they're fairly confident they're fine. I don't necessarily think that means they're innocent. I think that just means that, as usual with the mega wealthy, they found a way to, they found a loophole in the system somewhere that allows them to essentially break the rules without having broken the rules that are written down on paper. Having said that, just briefly talking about their actual result yesterday, it almost felt a bit scripted, didn't it, Matty? Like 2-0 down at half time. Like, of course, they just came and won 3-2, didn't they?
As soon as that Michael Keane goal went in, I just knew what was going to happen. So I put the Burnley game on because I couldn't be bothered watching it, and then I couldn't resist, so I put it back on, and it was 2-2. And then I seen the third goal, and he starts invading the pitch, and I was just like, "What are you doing? Like, Jesus Christ!" And then from there, it's just been comedy. But you just knew it was going to happen. They were always going to stay up from that Chelsea result, to be honest with you. I think if they would have lost to Chelsea, they probably would have went down. But that result's massive. That kept them up, that single result, to be honest.
I mean, speaking of pitch invasions, Jay, I'm sure a pitch invasion in the rules is enough to get you a sizable punishment from whoever. But we've seen it an awful lot this week in particular. It feels like post-COVID, everyone desperate to be back in the ground, desperate to feel that emotional connection again. But it has sort of gotten out of hand, hasn't it? And, culminated with that incident with Patrick Vieira being confronted. But, I mean, how embarrassing for that fan must it be? Like, thought he was Billy Big Bollocks, and then he gets decked by Patrick Vieira, and he's recorded the whole thing as well. I mean, something's got to be done to try and halt this trend, doesn't there, James?
To be honest, in the lower leagues, it's always been quite common in the playoff finals and things like that. But usually it's in good faith. Things haven't really happened in the past, but over the last few years, it feels like some of the scum's creeping back into football a little bit. Chris Kirkland got it, if I remember it, 2-3 seasons ago. Billy Sharp the other day. And that lad being embarrassed, he hasn't just ashamed himself, he's sort of ashamed the City though, because people link that behaviour to our City then, and it's not really a resemblance of Liverpool. The lad's an idiot who's done it, and I hope he does get the max punishment he can get, to be honest, makes it tarnishes our City. And I'm like, I don't like that, you know, whether you be a red or a blue. If you're from Liverpool, obviously it paints the City in a bit of a shitty picture. So I don't like it for that reason, to be honest. And yeah, it probably needs stopping now, which is a shame, because like I said, it's something that's happened for years in the lower leagues without any trouble, and now an idiot on Goodison Park and an idiot the other day for Sheffield United's probably gonna make it now that there'll be big sanctions or fines, because something does need to be done. It's not right that Vieira or any player or anyone, whether they're at Arsenal or not, gets abused on the pitch by loads of idiots who aren't meant to be on it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Damon, I think the bad faith part of what Jay was saying is really important, because, you know, there are people who storm onto that pitch and they're just genuinely so happy and they just want to hug everybody they come in within a yard of and celebrate with like players and, you know, get to share a hug with them and their manager or whatever, and which is like a cool thing. But like with most things, when there's that minority, I don't know if you could even call it a minority, but when there's that group of people that are going to ruin it, you've got to err on the side of caution, haven't you? And when it is non-league, when there's, you know, it's a few hundred people storming onto a pitch, it's not quite as bad. But at the higher levels, the higher echelons of football, when it's thousands of people storming onto a pitch with 22 players, 11 of them are opposition players, there's a massive risk involved, isn't there? And it's just escalated this week. First, you know, we saw I think it was Huddersfield giving it to the opposition fans, and that's instantly creating a lot of friction. Saw that whole incident with Billy Sharp and now Patrick Vieira. I think that they've covered it in various other media outlets, but there's a real danger of someone getting seriously hurt, isn't there? It's
a tricky one, isn't it? Because it's taking it away would be such a shame, because the elation that the fans feel at that moment, you know, imagine if we win the Premier League on Sunday, just want to run, wouldn't you? And just like, yes, come on, get on pitch. You would. And it's a shame for those fans that can't do that now if it does get banned because of a couple of idiots. And what needs to happen is the punishment needs to be a bit sharper and a bit firmer, because, I mean, the guy that headbutted Billy Sharp the other day, 12-year ban from football. Why not a lifetime ban? You know, why is he allowed back after 12 years if he's capable of something like that? You know what I'm saying? And it's only a matter of time, you know. I know they can't carry weapons and things like that, but it could easily be possible.
Yeah.
It could easily be possible if they took a weapon on that pitch. You know, what's the harm there? This could really escalate to something much more serious than that, but or a punch or a kick. But like I said, I think it's the punishment that needs to be firmer more than banning the actual pitch invasion itself.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to throw people into categories. I mean, you see the majority of people storming on there. You imagine a lot of them are coked up. they've you know, I've been to a few stadiums. I know people see me on the watch-alongs and think I do just sit around all day, but I've been to some football stadiums, right? The security is never really top-notch. I mean, maybe they'd find a knife, I don't know, but you know, a little bag of something is getting in there and into the toilets, no problem. And you know, something does need to be done, I think, about that. But enough of Everton. They've stayed up. Congratulations, and 6 points for us next year. So thank you. Let's move on to the weekend fixtures. Top four. Let's start there. Arsenal, bottle jobs, the new Spurs. They face Everton, who are now completely safe and away from home. Tottenham, on the other hand, well, not on the other hand, they face Norwich away from home as well. It's fully in their control. Do Spurs now go ahead and do a Spurs and bottle it from here, Matty?
I don't think so, no. I don't think so. I think top four will be Spurs this year. I think Norwich are too poor of a side, really, and they've got nothing, and they've got the pride to play for, but they're awful, aren't they? They are awful. And Spurs have got Son and Kane up top. Like, even if Norwich get one or even two, I'm sure Son and Kane can get a good few between them. I don't want them to, because I want Salah to get the golden boot. But being realistic, I do think that they will get it. I think Arsenal bottled it. I said on a stream a few weeks ago, I think they give Arteta his new deal a bit too early. And it's nice to see that be right, to be honest. But I don't really like Arsenal, to be honest with you, and I don't mind Spurs. I've sort of got this little respect for them since the Champions League final in Madrid, because they were all proper sound. And like the Spanish police expected murder, and it was dead sound. And since then, I've just had this little bit of respect for Spurs, like that they are, like that they was proper sound. So I'd rather them get fourth than Arsenal. I just think it's a better fan base, really. If you had to choose one of the two.
I mean, Jay, ultimately, it's out of Arsenal's hands, but they do have to play Everton and they do have to win. As I said, Everton, in the knowledge that they're secure and they're not at home, like their minds are definitely on the beach. But Arsenal, with their last two results, obviously that crushing blow against Tottenham, and then the loss during the week as well, last week, sorry, against Newcastle, wasn't it? Are they? Do you think they're going to slip here as well, like the final nail in the coffin of what's turning into quite a shite season for them?
Well, that's the thing with Spurs and Arsenal. I think it's a good job Spurs have Norwich, because I think that's the only way they can definitely secure making sure they're in the Champions League. I think if it was any other side, there's a chance Tottenham do a Tottenham. But both of them do the same thing constantly. They have a run of 3 or 4 games, look really good, and then the rubbish all of a sudden. But yeah, I think Everton will actually get a result at Arsenal. They're on a massive high, and Arsenal are on the complete opposite end of that, on a massive low. So I actually think Everton will end up winning, believe it or not.
Damon, what about you? How do you see this one going? And well, no, actually, if Arsenal don't get it, which is very, very likely, is this season a complete failure for Arsenal? I mean, obviously, didn't do particularly well in either of the cup competitions. Fourth was, I don't think they weren't favourite for fourth, so they did well, I guess, to put themselves into that position. But getting that close and losing it when they should have been cruising, stuck in the Europa League now, maybe not the squad depth to do that. Is it a failure?
I think it's harsh if people think it's a failure because they came 8th last season, and that's such a young side. I mean, you got to give them credit for what they have done this season. Some of the games they've played some fantastic football against us. They played some brilliant football at first half. And now we won the game and we just got a better team at the end of the day. You know, they're such a young side, so I'm not expecting them to push the Champions League as the way they have. Really, I expected them to get 5th, 6th, but the way they've pushed that Champions League spot with the lack of experience they've got is just incredible. And you've got to give credit to Arteta for getting them there. I mean, they're still gonna drop points against Newcastle and things like that because they then got the experience, and that's down to the board in a way. I think they failed Arteta in a way because they didn't back him in January. They let Aubameyang go and they didn't replace him. Vlahovic were crying out, well, not crying out for a move, but he was there to be got. I've got an Arsenal mate that wanted Origi. It was possible to get someone like that in just to get some goals. If they had a goal scorer from January onwards, they'd have easily got it.
Yeah, I'd take your point, but Matty, considering where they were 2 weeks ago, they're going to Tottenham to face them. All they really need to do is draw that game. If they win, then fantastic, and then just hold their nerve against Newcastle as well. I don't think Newcastle was sensational. I think Arsenal just really fell off in that game because of the Tottenham defeat. So I guess from that point on, it's a massive disappointment not to go over the line, isn't it?
Yeah, massive disappointment for Arsenal, really, especially because they went into that game and that was their cup final then. So that's shown the mentality of the squad. Like that was the cup final. Like Everton had their cup final yesterday and succeeded in it, unfortunately, where that was Arsenal's cup final, that North London derby. I think if they won it, they got top 4 and they completely bottled it. And I do think their owner has backed them quite well, to be honest. Maybe not Arteta, but in recent years, when you think of they've got Odegaard in, they've got Lacazette, they bought Aubameyang, they spent 80 or 85 million on Pepe. I think they have spent really, really well. They've just bought the wrong signings. When you look at Ben White, for example, 50 million, and then you look at Liverpool spending 35 million on Canate. And the levels above, and I think it's just in terms of they've spent money, but they've recruited poorly, and that's a common theme throughout many clubs in the league this year, to be honest. But I do think it's a massive disappointment for Arsenal this season, and it was just another club you knew would fall off when Wenger went. Their fans, they thought the grass would be greener because they thought only getting top 4 every year was nothing, but that's a massive achievement what he done, because you see since he's left, he's got it. What was it? Once was it?
They
Emery got it?
haven't been in it.
Oh, no.
No.
There you go then. So it shows really.
Let's move away from top four, because you do feel like it's probably already decided. It would take quite a big cock up from Tottenham to lose it.
It's a bit like a title race in a way. It's a bit like a title race in a way.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Let's look at the Europa League. Manchester United haven't played for 2 weeks now, basically. They've apparently, according to Count in the live chat, they've cancelled their player awards for this season because they've been so shambolic, which it's just these are the glory days. These are the days we've got to remember, aren't they? They also have played their last home game. They travelled to Crystal Palace, who have been embarrassed yesterday. So they'll be looking to finish on a bit of a high. United need to win, essentially, to guarantee themselves that Europa League place. West Ham face Brighton. Brighton at home. Maybe Brighton have switched off, I don't know. But West Ham with something to play for here. That result at Man City, although not perfect for them, but that puts them in a strong place to put a lot of pressure on United, doesn't it, Jay?
Yeah, I think the thing as well, Brighton have been poor at home. Their away form is what's got them where they are, actually. I think they've won 2 or 3 home games or something mad like that.
Yeah.
And obviously United are away to Palace, but Palace can't generate a good atmosphere. And when it's the last game of the season, you want to put a show on for your fans. And I imagine Vieira's annoyed about what happened yesterday, so a lot of the players will obviously want to try and not get revenge, because it's not against Everton again, but put it right basically from the bad results. They should have put the game to bed yesterday, really, but then obviously that happened. So yeah, I think West Ham could pip United, to be honest.
Damon, I mean, United, as I said, haven't played since the weekend before last, because at some point in the season they ended up playing 2 or 3 games more than everybody else, which I'm not sure how that worked. But I know Palace had played yesterday, so maybe some of their players won't be in the best physical condition. But does that longer break? I mean, I feel like we experience it whenever that happens, like international breaks, for example. Does that work against United in a way? Too much time to think about this one game, the players not in a rhythm, perhaps something like that.
Well, United haven't played since September, so they've had a longer break than anyone in the league. I get that, because you want to be match fit, don't you? You want to be up for it. You need the momentum. I said that about the Real Madrid thing. I think I'd rather be in Liverpool's position going into the Champions League, because we'll still have the match fitness and still have the desire and the confidence, really.
And no Premier League playoff final either.
I imagine that
3 days before.
I couldn't do with another game like that. I couldn't do with that. I'd rather just lose the game. I'd rather just lose Premier League on Sunday. Get it done with you. But you know what? This Man United team, I don't mind them winning this weekend. And I'll tell you why. Because Ten Hag's going to be there, and those players are going to sort of show up a little bit now and think, "Oh yeah, Ten Hag's here. Let's start playing now." And it might make them want to keep him. Like Rashford and Maguire and things like. Oh yeah, they can play quite well here. And then they've stuck with them for next season, so they can have a good performance this week if they want. So
yeah, I mean, speaking of Ten Hag, I mean, this has got nothing to do with the show, but I've got some weird vibes off of Ten Hag recently. He's apparently one of his ex-staff members was done for like chatting up, but in a bit more of a horrible way, some female staff, and he's made some comments about Mason Greenwood before he's gone to trial. He's starting to give me a bit of a weird vibe, so we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, he'll fit in at Man United very well. Let's move to the relegation battle. Everton safe. It's now all down to Burnley and Leeds. Burnley at home to Newcastle, Leeds away to Brentford. It's all on Leeds to do because of goal difference, I believe. Can they topple Brentford? Brentford nothing to play for, Matty.
I hope so, to be honest, because Everton are staying up. I'd like to see Leeds stay up, just purely because they've not long been up. Where Burnley have been up for years, and I just hate the football they play and stuff. So I'd like to see Burnley go down, if I'm being completely honest. And I rate Jesse Marsh as well. I'd like to see him do a full season in the Prem, to be honest, and see where he ends up. So I don't think Leeds have got it in them. I think they maybe may get a result of Brentford, but it's one of them, isn't it? Is it at Brentford as well? Yeah, and it could potentially be Ericsson's last game there, and he's been phenomenal for them. So I can't see anything but Leeds getting beat there, to be honest with you. But same with Burnley, I think Newcastle turn them over, so it'll just stay as it is, I think, and it'll be Leeds who go down, unfortunately.
Yeah, Jay, how do you see that Burnley game going? Burnley only need to topple, well, they can equal or do better than Leeds' result in order to stay up. So if Leeds lose, it doesn't matter. If they draw, Burnley only have to hold Newcastle. Again, final day of the season, Newcastle are done. They're away from home. Are they asked, as you know, Matty predicts them to turn them over, but are they that fast?
I think Eddie Howe sort of demands it from Newcastle. Whenever I watch his interviews, he's very much, don't think you can go on holiday. This is the precedent for next season. This is how he wants to try and keep the momentum going, really, because he has done a cracking job there. And I completely agree with Matty, to be honest. I can see both of them losing anyway. And I'd much rather Leeds stay in the league than Burnley. I hate Burnley's football the way Matty does. I'm amazed they've been in the league this long. And at least Leeds try and play footy. Leeds are one of the best teams to watch, not because they'll win, just because the games are mental. There's always goals in them, so you want that in the Premier League. And Leeds are a big club. You know, they've got to sell a stadium out every week, more or less. So I'd much prefer them to stay up. I just think Brentford will be bouncing because they've had such a good year, so it'd be a hard game for them to win. So I think both of them will probably lose, to be honest. So it'd stay as it is, which means Leeds will go down, sadly.
Damon, who's getting relegated?
I think just Leeds. I think it's going to come late in the game as well. I can see quite a high scoring game, Brentford Leeds. I think Leeds will go for it. Brentford are free scoring at the moment anyway, and they've been letting in for fun of Brentford. So it could be possibly like a 3-3, but then Burnley getting a draw as well, like late on. I think they'll go 1-0 down to Newcastle quite early. I think it'd just be back to the wall there for Newcastle the rest of the game. I think Burnley will just scrounge it at the end. I hope they don't, though. Like I said, I agree with the guys. Leeds are a bigger club. Leeds are just, I think, deserve Premier League football more than Burnley. Burnley have had the chance up here, and they've just messed around bottom area, really, haven't they? And they've had Sean Dyche sacked this season as well. So yeah, I'd like to see Burnley go down.
We will all find out. It's just, is it less than 48 hours now? It is unbelievable. It's getting ever closer. Tomorrow night, we will have a full match preview for the Wolves game, but I imagine a lot of talk will be around Villa again and Man City's game. So please do join us for that. Lots of content still coming through the LFC transfer room. The Champions League final is just over a week away as well. So plenty of build up for that coming your way very soon. So if you are new, please do subscribe to the channel for all of your Liverpool content. And if you haven't done so already, please do like this video. It really helps us out. Thank you to Matty, Jay, and Damon for joining me. And thank you to everybody in the live chat and watching quietly. This has been the LFC Transfer Room, final Premier League room of the 21-22 season. Take care, and we will see you in the next video.